The small children, wide-eyed with wonder. The grandmother relaxed in her experience. Find joy. Give joy this Christmas.
It's Christmas again in Vancy. Hot 97 and 1 on the air. Woo! Spreading the joy. Hot 97 is everywhere.
All righty. Well, as promised, long time we used to say the good old duck. No, boy, ain't saying the good old duck no more. Now it's Prime Minister good old duck. Yeah, it says Prime Minister good old duck now. But the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Honorable Prime Minister is here. Dr. Godwin Friday, PM. How do we address him really? Doc, how we do the addresses?
Take your pick.
Is it do we say good old dog? Do we say Honorable Dr. Friday? Do we say
all of that's fine.
Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Friday? Do we say the big cheese? Do we say El Jefe? What we do?
My mother called me Lorraine. That was how I used to grow up.
Somebody else called it that too. I know somebody called you.
The kids, they call me. A lot of them call me by my first name, believe it or not.
Yeah, but I call it PM.
PM is fine.
I go to PM.
Doc is fine. Whatever you're comfortable with, so long as it's
you like Papi?
Papi, Papi.
That one we could pass up.
All right, so this is our first meeting since you've transformed from the leader of the opposition after a long stint.
Yep.
An experienced stint.
Very much so.
To now the Prime Minister. First off, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank
you.
One thing I like with the speech that you give the swearing, was it the swearing? Yeah. When he told them about the opposition and you have had years of practice, you're so right. you had like 25 years of practice?
Well, don't remind me. But I mean, the point is that we had a long time of service,
right?
I always call it service. Whether you're in opposition, you're in prime minister or government, it's service to people, and people choose you to perform a certain role at a certain time. And if you put yourself up for service, your duty obligation is to do your best at it.
First, to begin, they started the ball rolling at the night of the election when the results were being called.
Yes.
And you realize this is what it's going to be. What was the feeling like? What was the emotions like?
Boy, it's hard to remember because there were so many emotions. And you see there were lots of people around me, of course, because it was in my campaign office in Beckway. It's a fairly big building, so a lot of people were starting together because very early it looked, very good for us.
Right.
And so for me, it was just a matter of confirmation. I wanted to wait for sure to know that we have at least, pronounced 9 or 10 seats where I felt, can't go backwards from there.
Yeah, but it's not 9 or 10, you get 14.
But that came, later on. I'm talking about early up when people were coming and they're seeing, this is going. Yeah, to be honest with you, early in the day, I had come up from Beckway. Around 6:30 or so, and went around from the Windward side. We went out to Stubbs and South Central Windward, and we went up to by Chevron. And the sense I got, the sense of calm, especially from NDP supporters, it gave me the assurance. I said, this is different. Something is going to happen.
Something is happening.
Yeah, and then we took the speedboat and went around to Chateau Baga. Same thing. People were just.
Helicopter?
Yeah.
Helicopter?
They didn't send it to me.
Or two.
Maybe. We came up in a speedboat, splash from Beckway, and the water was pretty good. But anyway, the sense that I got was that people, it was very, very calm, very orderly. Lots of people in the lines, and from the way that people were, waving me or reacting to me and so forth, I felt that this was going to be our day, and that the people were going to vote for change. Of course, the magnitude of it we could only hope for.
Right.
But in the end,
But you must have known beforehand, though, even like a couple of days before, that you were going to win.
yes. I mean, our sense. I've been in this for a while, so you could sense that things had changed, that people were less reserved about their support, and people were basically they were telling me, "Friday, don't worry, you worry about we have this," this kind of thing. I'm saying, well, been there before.
I'm paid to worry.
But it was that sense, that feeling, because earlier on in the campaign, at some point in the campaign, I got the sense that this was not just an election, it was more like a movement, that people were saying we're gonna make this happen.
So you saw it during the campaign.
Yeah, and so when I recognized that, I sort of I changed my approach, in a sense, in my presentations. I tended to be a bit more expansive and appeal to people's sense of duty, emotion, that kind
Right,
of
but
stuff.
one would say that was what you were even before the campaign. No?
Well, thank you. But earlier on, what you're trying to do is to let people, because the difficulty we had over the years was cutting through.
Right.
A lot of the noise, a lot of people weren't giving us, quite frankly, the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
You see a half glass and they tell you it's half empty, when in fact we saw it as half full.
Right.
But after there was a certain point where people started seeing what we were about, not just in the programs that we were putting forward, but in the sincerity, certainly in the approach that we were presenting, saying that we're focusing on people, and people realize that, and they say, well, this is something that they want to hear. They don't want people cussing this and carrying on about that. They want to know how they're going to feed the children, how they're going to fix the roof and the house if it's leaking, things, bread and butter issues.
Although you knew you were going to win, did you expect it to be the winning that you had, the 14-1 victory?
Well, to be honest, I hoped it would happen, but it's a lot to expect. And the sense that I got, especially in the election, as I told you as we're going around, was that there is a movement for change here, and it could be big. I told my people a long time ago that if a lot of the problems that we had in 2020 election as well is a sense that people wanted change, but they were afraid that it would not happen. For whatever reason, they might have thought that there was some way in which the powers that be at the time would prevent it from happening. And my sense was that once that fear was broken, that we would not just win by 1 seat or 2, that it would be a landslide.
The stigma that they had, but they used to hear before, the NDP is now a young people party, young people and gravitating the NDP. This election here, what would you say? Prove them different? It proves different?
Well, it started in 2020, to be honest. The 2020 election, we had a lot of young people came up. There was a sense that that they felt that they had a place within the party. They'd seen what the other guys were doing, and they wanted to do something else. But in 2025, this year,
right,
it really reached a high point. And we had people. We always had a young person on the platform, speaking to issues of young people. We had a focused message. You didn't see people going out on our platform and just winging it. People knew what they were going to say before they got there. They had a message. Because the approach we took is to say, listen, if you have 5 minutes and you're talking about something that people don't want to hear, that's a wasted 5 minutes. So if you come on the stage and you're giving people entertaining, that's fine, but make sure you drive the message. Yes. And
was there any particular seat that shocked you?
Shocked. I mean, there were some seats that, of course, were harder to win. I'm not going to call out my colleagues here, but
right.
We know the ones that were closer, North Leeward and North Windward. Those were from history.
No, but they were known to be close. But what,
they were close.
What about
we had the tougher seats, like the ones in Mariquah and
Mariquah has been a stronghold
and for the ULP.
For the ULP,
yes, for Labour in general, and Central Leeward.
Central Leeward, I thought
we had moved backwards in 2020 and had to overcome over 500 votes, and he did it fantastically well,
right.
because we knew he had a good candidate there as well, and that the mood, the sense of the people, that it was not just going to be seat by seat. There was a national swing towards the NDP, well, away from what they were presented with in this election. And the period in between 2020 and 2025, people were just tired of the arrogance and the bullying and the kind of, entitlement that these fellows were projecting. And we came at it, and I said to people a long time ago, I said, if you want to bring a house down, you can use a bulldozer. Everybody sees you coming. The other way you could do is you could use like termites or whatever, put whoever you wish. But you mean that you do it by getting into the
Termites
people.
in the UOP?
We didn't put termites in them. But the point is that we could bring the structure down using more than the standard visible means, which is where they see it coming. And what they didn't see is really that we were out there amongst the people since 2018.
Let me just excuse. I hear this debate all the time, and you may or may not want to answer it. Did the NDP win or did the UOP lose?
Well, people always debate that. The fact of the matter is we're in office, so obviously people voted for us. Whether you choose to say that they failed, after 25 years, if you say, well, there's something you did wrong, then it means that you're not really appreciating what's happening, because you've been there, you know what to do, you know how to win an election. They've proven they can do it. The fact that the people in this time voted for the Democratic Party, they voted for change. They didn't just vote because, yes, there was fatigue with the present government, but we had to offer something better. And I think that's what they saw. It's not just a matter of programs, as I said. There are some things that we offer, of course, that were very attractive to people. But there's also the promise of a different attitude. You know what the talk is when you're going around town?
Let me hear.
What people say all the time to you? The country feel light.
No, we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, what do they mean by that?
Yeah.
That is the sense that the expectation is that something different will happen in the country. And once they believe it would happen, they embrace it. And that's why, you had the...
Talking of that lightness.
Just hold on, wait, one more. When the results were all called and done,
yeah,
and you realize I am the prime minister. This is who I'm going to be from now on. When you got home, what was that feeling like to you?
Well, it took me a while to get home because I was at my party office, and to be honest, the first emotion was one of tears.
Because you've been
It must be personally satisfying.
You've been through it for years.
It wasn't so much my personal, this is honest and truthful, is that I knew that people wanted the change. Right. Since 2020, obviously more people voted for us than for them. And there was this frustration that somehow they felt that what they wanted, it would be denied them. Not that they didn't want it, And so when they had you'd have heard me through the campaign saying, let's have the courage for each of us to take the action to make it happen. And when I realized that this really, it had come through, and certainly in the magnitude that it was, I felt so happy for the people, because I knew who I always voted NDP. I voted for change all the time.
Right.
But when I saw that people had embraced this and say, this is the opportunity we can't miss, I felt so happy when I see that it had been realized that they had taken this action and this has happened. Something that a lot of people, around the region, people were calling me. They weren't just saying, Friday, congratulations, you win. They were saying this is a historic victory. What I mean by that, so we thought, ULP can't be beaten, Gonzav can't be beaten, and so forth. And, to be beaten in this way, 14-1, it shocked a lot of people around the region. But to be honest, my colleagues and we have been basically out in the field. And that is I tell them all the time, I said, this is politics 101, is you go meet people.
Right.
You could have all kind of fancy ideas of what you want to do and put forward plans and so forth. If you don't speak the language that the person in the villages want to hear, that you are concerned about what they're concerned about, not what you're bringing as some sort of educated and polished person. They want to know that you are concerned about what they're concerned about. And once you embody that, you don't have to frame language for it. It just comes naturally, because you go and you talk to people. And we did this so much that it came there was an authenticity to it because people realize that this is not it's not a put on because you're there, you've been doing it all along. It just becomes part of how your modus operandus. And for me, campaigning was not the stuff on the stage. To be honest, my favorite campaigning is going out in the village. My colleagues will tell you that. Just going out and meeting people, whether they are friendly or not. What I found is that people tend to be respectful because they see that you are there. You know, you may have a different point of view from them, but if you give each other the respect that is due, they tend to return it. Very few places I go to where people were, you know, in any way hostile.
Right.
Very few. You know, we went to Park Hill and people said, "Oh, you know, boy, there's a strong you up there, Oliver." And we went there and everybody said, "Can I come?" And they said, "Yeah." You go in the yard, sit and talk to them. The man, they say, "Well, yeah, you know, I vote for them and so forth. And I'm still this and so, but try there, like what you're doing. At least you're coming, you're talking to people and so forth."
How are you going to maintain that?
Well,
'Cause when you start driving around in a convoy and all that,
Well,
you become a little less connected. Huh?
talk to them fellas over there. that is their job, you know, and it's kind of foreign to me because, as you know, I mean, again, this is not some sort of pretense. My whole politics, I walk from the wharf, I come down, people stop and give me a ride. I said, no, I walk. You see me. I walk because that's how you connect. Eh?
But he was telling me you on the ferry by yourself. I see you gonna get boxing here.
Well, you see, you have no, yeah, good security.
Yes.
Yeah, but the point is that you have to remain accessible while at the same time, you know, acknowledging these guys have a job to do, and we have to do it in a modern world. But I try to remain accessible as well. Every opportunity I get, I come and they will tell you, you come here, you see people. I get out of the car and I go and shake hands and so forth, and people have a chance to connect again. I walk back Middle Street. You know, it's not the most, I suppose, easy thing for them to do to see that, but that's how I have been all the time. I walk up Middle Street.
But presumably it'll get harder as you start to make the tough.
Well, that is the nature. That is the nature of politics. Yes, you know, they call this the honeymoon period or whatever. But the point is, it is that if you include people in decision making, in the sense that you feel that this is consultative, it's not that you have a mandate now you do whatever the hell you like. No, you always have to go back and make sure that what you're doing, even if people don't agree with you, that they understand why you're doing it. And I think people respect that because they know that sometimes you're going to have to make difficult choices because, you know, that's what you are elected to do. You have to govern in the best interest of the people. Not everybody is going to be happy with a decision that you make. But if they see that there is a rationale to it, there is a purpose that they could understand, they will say, okay, well, this time I didn't benefit from it, but I could see why it was done. Then they feel it's not personal, it's not ignoring them, it's just simply having to make a decision that requires either this one or that one, and they could understand it. That is what I hope to continue. And that is why we you know, even now, I'm buried with work in my office, but the steep learning curve, you know, being prime minister, you have no manual for it. You have to go. And
I was not going to ask you that. How does the Dr. Friday, how does the Dr. Godwin Friday, opposition leader on stage, differ now from Prime Minister Friday?
Well, you stop being competing. You know, I am now. I represent everybody. People. You know, the hard part for me is understanding how people view me. Rather than, for me, I still see myself in the same way, you know, but how people view you, you can't ignore that.
So you don't sleep with like a crown on and that kind of thing? No? Gold bed and that kind of thing? No?
Well, I don't put it on. It's next to the pillow. But
That's when you shave it.
yeah, it's kind of hard. But the point is that the other day I was, you know, and it came back to me afterwards that there was a certain truth to what it was, what I said. There's a woman came to me, we were under the almond tree, and she said, well, how does it feel to be prime minister for 2 weeks? And my response to her, I just said, it's not how I feel. You tell me how you feel to have me as your prime minister for 2 weeks.
Right.
You know, and that was kind of like, it's trying to understand how people regard you. And if you could get that right most of the time, and try and always connect with that, I think you'll be all right, you know, because you will be honest with people. You govern in a way that it takes their feelings and their own aspirations into account, even when you can't deliver what they want. If you make a choice that they can understand why it's made, I think people are sensible enough to say, well, you know what?
How do you deal with? We discussed it yesterday. Deputy Commissioner of Police having, as far as I'm aware, not mentioned the conditions of the living conditions for police officers, stating that they are inhumane conditions. How do you deal with somebody who could have said that 10 years ago?
Well, the conditions under which the fellows in the police force live, I mean, they're really difficult. Really.
No, we accept that, and you've said it on the campaign trail, and your colleagues have said it on the. But how do you deal with somebody who could have said it, who's right in the heart of it, who could have said it all these years?
Well, they should have said it.
And should have said it.
Should have said it, yes, because.
And are only now saying it.
I mean, I don't know why or whether they were doing it in different ways or whatever, because police service is a disciplined organization. They tend to not speak over their rank and so forth. But the point is that recognizing that the conditions under which they live, it helps to determine how they perform. If you feel good about yourself, about your working conditions, it's not rocket science. You will perform better. You feel more motivated to work, and that is something that we have to fix, because we require the police service to be always at their best. And when we've had situations where violent crimes, homicides have been increasing, you have lack of accountability in the sense that so many of them are unsolved. All of these things have to be addressed.
But do you want senior public servants, the same lighter thing that you were referring to? Do you want that to be part of it, where they speak out? And
absolutely. If it's not part of it, then you're missing the opportunity, because public servants, I think one of the problems that we have had over years is that even when they know what is the right thing to do in terms of doing their job, they are concerned about doing it without getting political approval first. And one of the first things I said to my staff in the Prime Minister's office in the meeting that we had is similar to what you asked there. Is to say, listen, if you know your job, you don't have to look to me to tell you how to do it. That is your jurisdiction. You do what you have to do. Once you are acting within the scope of your duties and you're making your judgment based on what you think is the best thing to do, you don't have to worry about me or any superior. If you want to change how you do it, then we do so. But in any individual decision, you do your work. And it's not just a matter of simply saying this is how my style is or whatever. The point is that you have, all of these persons, thousands of people working in the public service. If they are not functioning 100% because they feel constrained by things that they can't even articulate, then you're not getting the best from them. The whole country is held back, and we're paying them for basically not doing their job properly. And you can't blame them if the political climate is such to say, well, listen, I know you have to do this, but make sure you touch base with me first. Or this person is my supporter. You can't touch that person.
Do you think the climate was like that before?
Oh, God bless.
Oh,
that
God, hallelujah.
It was micromanaged before.
Yes.
Micromanaged, but also politically tainted.
Everything.
Yes, because everything has to do with who, not what you do, but who you're doing it to.
Some would say, though, that's how you stay in power for 25 years.
Maybe so, but that's how the country goes backward as well.
Right, okay.
There are a lot of countries.
So your goal isn't to stay in power forever?
Well, I won't live forever, first thing. But the point is that, you see, people talk about longevity and so on. In a lot of countries in the world, people have been in power for longer. But look at the conditions of those countries, So you have to ask yourself then, you have this opportunity now to do something, to use the time you have to do it. And, if somebody had asked me 25 years ago if I would still be in politics, I would have said no. But duty calls. I came here and I provided my service, and I continue to do something. People have said, you know what, We want you to be the prime minister. We want you to do what you say you're going to do for the country, and I intend to deliver that. By the way, you see that free day last Friday?
See the one?
Yeah.
What was
VAT-free
your
shopping day.
What was your views on it?
You know, I expected some of the technical people were saying, oh yes, we expect there's going to be sales. This is what we project will be the economic benefit and so forth. But I think everybody was kind of taken aback by the level of engagement that you had.
You think
So
the
many-
business places
the business
expected that?
places in particular, because when we thought about it, I mean, I presented it as a cost of living measure.
Right.
To say, well, listen, this is something is putting money back into people's pocket. And we campaign on that very straight up. We say, listen, the difference is we're going to put money in your pocket. So I am going to deliver on that. And when people, they understand what, you break it down to all these parts, what it means. You're putting money in people's pocket. You're getting jobs. You're making goods more affordable. You are making it so that people can make ends meet. And so when we put it forward, it was as that measure, as a cost of living measure. But of course, we know it will have benefits for the business community because, the VAT off is basically more sales for them. It's not them giving up the money. The good thing, though, is that so many of the business places in town say, you know what, I go match that.
Mhm.
Yeah? I will match
I'm
that.
here for your 20%.
So, yeah, you have
yeah.
the VAT off, and then I'll still give him a 10 or 15%.
Yeah.
And so when people come out, I hear people saying, oh, this thing costs so much and so much, and I save $200. I save one person they save like over $2,000 in purchases. So the good part about that is that people get things at a more affordably, but there's an injection, into the economy of spending and enthusiasm and just this whole sense that things are different. People were happy to spend money. in
Was
things
it
that-
just the middle class and upper class who benefited?
No way. I spoke to some of the merchants. They said the people come and they had the eye on the fridge, they had the eye on the stove, and they line up early and they come and they say how much it is, and they had the money because we told them, they say, this is a one-day thing. You can't put on a layaway. You have to pay for it. But they came and they had it. They didn't buy a higher purchase.
So no regrets.
None whatsoever. I think everybody benefited.
Right.
The business community benefited. The ordinary consumer benefited, which is really where we started doing it. And of course, the people who had more means would benefit.
What about the
more.
Ministry of Finance? They benefited or not?
The ministry, I think we're doing the analysis of it, but it's not a straightforward thing where you say, listen, this is how much VAT you're giving up. Because a lot of that money was spent back.
And will be spent back.
And will be spent back.
yeah.
As I tell people, I say I didn't buy a rocket with it. I put it in people's pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they are going to go and spend that back. And it's going to be how you measure the overall impact of it. I leave that for the economists to do, but they will tell us because it's not a one-off thing. We said that we would do it in August, which is to help people to prepare to go back to school, and then in December. We said the first month in December, but I like it closer to Christmas though. I think that really helped, to
Although
focus people.
you might get two bites at the cherry if you go early.
Maybe, but we will.
You have to analyze that.
What I like is that the business places, several of them around town say, you know what, one day is not enough. We'll take the VAT off the next day as well. And I had a meeting with the business community before, like a week before the VAT-free Friday. And what really pleased me so much is that the enthusiasm that they showed for it, the fact that there are little problems here and so on, but we didn't have to put forward a solution. They were saying, but this is how we could deal with this. This is what we could do. And my plea to them was just simply this: understand the spirit in which this was done. Don't just look at the letter of what the cabinet decision was and say, well, okay, this I can get away with that and so forth. The spirit of it was that to make things more affordable for people,
Right.
Give them the break, not because we're taking off the VAT, no, you're not going to give you a discount, a discount at Christmas. And they did that. And I was very, very pleased to see the way in which they embraced it. And I'm sure they're looking forward to
So
having it done again.
you've done 2 of your 4 promises so far. So you've started to reinstate the people who were affected by the COVID mandate. You've done the VAT-free shopping day. I don't know if it's controversial, but the big talk obviously is the salary bonus or
No, it's always intended to be a salary bonus. We said that. I mean, if you listen to
what does it mean for most people? Say if I'm earning $2,000,
yes,
what does it mean?
well, you may actually have a double salary,
Right.
because what we intend to do is to use a flat rate across the board, and so that you would find that I am hoping that most, because we still tweaking it a little bit, but the most of the public servants will experience a double. Some will actually get more, because the intention is, and this is equity, is that the persons at the bottom of the scale would have the biggest benefit. Because imagine somebody who is, earning 9,000, you say, okay, I want my double salary, I get $18,000. Somebody making 1,500, you say, well, listen, I get double salary, but I get $1,500.
The former PM said, though, that if you're going to give a bonus, you call it a bonus. When you say a salary bonus,
But it's a bonus, yes.
people here, it's a whole salary, a salary
Well,
bonus as
that's-
opposed to a bonus.
And I say to many people, probably most,
What percent?
it will be.
What percent of public servants you think will double their money? Roughly.
Yes. Well, we think that probably close to 50%.
Okay.
I'm
And you said-
hoping
you
that
said-
will be most.
You said that some might get even more than double.
Some will get more. The ones at the lower end of the scale will get more than double. Because, again, the idea is to have a flat rate
Right.
across the board. So that if you're making $10,000, you get the same as somebody who's making $1,500.
What-
And that way, instead of making it percentage-wise, where, the ones lower will always get less, you just do it.
Do you think there's going to be
Across the
any
board.
discontent if, let's say, I'm on 5,000 and I don't get 5,000, I get, say, 3,000?
No, I think people are reasonable. They know what the intent is to put some money back into your pocket.
Mhm.
And the point of the matter is that we are doing it as a measure from the public purse to say, we are going to help you with the cost of living crisis. For those persons at the lower end of the scale, they will see the greatest benefit from it, which is what you always have to look at when you're dealing with equity. And for those persons who are at the top end of the scale, they will also have the same benefit. It's not like some are getting more than the others. Proportionately, maybe, but how can you argue when, if you are making $8,000, you get the same amount as somebody who's making $3,000? You're getting the same amount,
Right. What can you tell us about the financial health of the country?
Just before you answer that, when can people expect this?
In January.
Will it be part of their regular salary or will it be paid separately?
It will be paid separately.
Early January, maybe?
No, it will be in the latter part of January. I want you to do Christmas shopping. You have to pay for them things, right?
People just spend all the money.
Yeah,
on
so
last Friday, you know.
they will be grateful, thankful. I say, well, we said 60 days. And so we will do it within the 60 days.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Okay, and the final pledge was poor relief
Yes.
or public assistance.
Yeah. Yes. Well, this is
That
also,
will also be within the 60 days?
yes,
Okay.
we will implement that policy. But of course, the timing of it will be, you will get it in the month following.
So
You know.
in February's payment.
We will have a budget in January. This will all be provided for in it,
Mm-hmm.
in the estimates and the appropriations. This will be part of the regular commitment of government going forward. So if they budget for it properly, not just, you see, the VAT free is a one-off thing for this year thus far. But when you're dealing with increases in that, you have to make budgetary preparations and allocations for it going forward. So we will do that properly because, what we're doing is you have to be responsible in terms of how you manage government finances. If you've heard me over the years, we talk about having guardrails, which were set up in the Finance Administration Act, in the Constitution, and Convention, the practice. And the past government, they disregarded much of that. And so you have a sense where you felt, well, if they're doing something and or some people are going to benefit, that you're okay to disregard those guardrails. When you do that, though, we get into serious trouble. And that is where we have found ourselves now. And I mean, I'm not going to go out and wring my hand and say, well, listen, things worse than do, so I'm not going to promise. I promise these things, I will deliver them.
Are things worse
And-
than you expected?
Yes.
How bad?
How
Well,
much worse?
I'm not going to speak out of turn because the point is that I'm still, I got a review from the finance department. They haven't been, imagine these guys, they haven't done this in 25 years. You have a new government, they have to prepare a transition document that says this is the state of the economy. So they prepared that to me. It's a fairly thick document and I'm working my way through it. But there are certain things that we know already that the government finances, we knew this before we were in government. I mean, in opposition, we knew that government finances are tight. You have a debt now is over $3 billion. You have
3
thought it was-
billion.
I thought
$3
it was-
billion.
I thought it was
Two.
one point something.
$3 billion. We have
break,
debt.
break that down for us approximately.
$3.1 billion in public debt.
Where's it owed to?
Well, it's owed to many different places. A lot of it is owed to bilateral, countries. Some of it is owed to CDB. Some of it is owed in financial instruments that we've wrote to be able to pay for certain things. And it's accumulated over a number of years.
Local businesses like that.
And well, that's the other thing. There is the debt, but there's also the payables that we have not been honoring to local businesses, and it's quite a lot. And when you're taking that money out of the local economy, because
can you give us a figure on that, approximately?
Yes, I have a figure, but I don't want to say it right now because I will give
because it'll make us cry.
Well, it may well be, but I'm working within. I have to remember that I'm not in opposition. I'm not here to expose or depose. I'm here to. I want the people in my office. They are very capable people to do their job without feeling that they're in a fishbowl, and that they can't trust the prime minister certain information because I go. Right. The point of the matter is, we are looking very carefully at what the financial status of the country is. We knew before going into government that things were difficult. What we didn't know is how difficult they were. But as I say, that is something that was not outside my expectation. I knew that things would be tough, so I made my commitments to people, not just because you say, okay, I won an election, whatever. I believe it's good for the economy as well.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad or good is the economy? Our economy?
11.
Is it good? Bad?
No.
Oh, you're afraid.
If you want that metric, 0.
Yeah. Has the auditing begun? I know you promised us that there will be some level of auditing.
No, we haven't appointed any auditors and so forth, but I have to get a sense. We've been there how long now? 3 weeks. We have to get a sense for ourselves. None of my colleagues have been in government. It's a steep learning curve. They're now running ministries. There are people who are asking them to make decisions because that's what your role is as minister. And with humility, hopefully they will say, well, listen,
how do you
tell me how this was done? Tell me what are the what are the parameters that I have, and then they learn to do it hopefully very quickly.
CBI was a big part of your campaign.
Yes,
has been for at least 10 years, maybe 15 years.
Maybe 15. Actually, this is since in NDP in government there was an economic citizenship program. We
just saw Antigua and Dominica
get a little bit of a sanction.
Reportedly lost their visas or some visa arrangements to the US, and CBI was quoted.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Well, I was a bit surprised by it because I know that the ECCB and with input from the US government, US officials, and from European people who have raised questions about the CBI program, they've all had input in it, and they made some adjustments which were satisfactory to those persons. So I was surprised by it, but I don't think it jeopardizes the program. I think that there may be other reasons why those actions were taken, but we have to get those from the people who did it.
It's not a case of you were told and you ignored the information.
Well, I don't know what those countries were told. What I do know is that there are other countries with CBI programs that have not been affected, and that assurances I've gotten from persons in U.S. government was that there were ameliorative measures that they wanted to see, and those are being done. So, I don't see that is a death knell to CBI programs. You have to understand that these programs what's driving them is demand from people who are high net worth people. These are people whose interests tend to get, priority in global and domestic affairs. Mm-hmm. So you ask yourself, well, if demand is coming from this source, they are also going to have an interest in saying, no, we want to be able to have access to those programs. So I believe that the programs are going to be there, and we intend to proceed with our plan to have a citizenship and investment program here in the country, because I believe we are reaching a point now with debt of $3.1 billion. 36 cents out of every dollar goes to service the debt. You can't borrow much more. And in these day and age, people are not coming to say, listen, here is some money here and there, except that they're demanding things that you can't give.
How soon does your government intend to have a CBI program up and running?
This year. No,
As
well,
in
not this year.
2026.
Yes, in 2026, and we will have the program up and running. Of course, we are coming in the last in the OECS, so we have the opportunity to look at what other countries have done and to pick, what are best practices, and we're in that process now.
Do you fare in any way? What is your stance on the U.S. position on Venezuela, and does that have any effect on what you might do on a geopolitical?
Well, we can't ignore it, because the United States, irrespective of how you feel personally and so forth, the United States is the superpower in the region, in the world, and they have their interests that they will pursue. Our goal is that for us in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Caribbean, is that we have our own interests to protect as well, and we have to negotiate what is becoming an increasingly difficult, regional landscape, with various countries having different positions on things, and it's becoming difficult to have a common approach. But we have to, in St. Vincent, especially as a new government coming in, we have to look at all of these things and say, well, what suits us best, and to essentially to navigate that in a way that's beneficial for our country.
Are you supporters of CARICOM?
Yes, I am. In our constitution of the New Democratic Party, one of the objectives is to work for regional integration. So we are we are basically the party. And when Mitchell was in government many years ago, one of his primary, and he would be noted for this, objectives and programs was to foster regional integration. So we remain committed to that. But that is not to say that is everything is happening that we're in agreement with. CARICOM, there have been lots of rumbles about it. It definitely needs reform. It needs an injection of real will to make it work, and to, in a sense, redefine what its purpose is. Certainly in foreign policy issues, we tend to be going all over the place. In economic issues, we talk about single market and economy for many years. That has not happened. But there is still the economic imperative for us to create a bigger economic space within the region. We have done so to a certain extent in the OECS, and if we can do so in CARICOM, that would be magnified, and hopefully we will get there.
Where is Venezuela in all of this?
Well, it's one of the
previous government was obviously very close.
Yes, you will know. Our diplomatic association, if you will, with Venezuela started since the time when Mitchell was in. We weren't even an independent country back in the early 70s, 72, 74 government. So we've had long-standing ties and good fraternal ties with Venezuela and the people of Venezuela over the years. We've had differences in approaches with governments, but that is something that we intend, to work through, because it's not a matter of disregarding a relationship because I don't see things eye to eye with one government. That's the nature of international politics. The point is that how do we find what is mutually in our interest, and to work on those things. And then where they might find things about us they don't like, we find things about them. We nudge in certain directions to say, oh, listen, these are things that, we could do better. And it's the same with our own CARICOM brothers and sisters. I've spoken out about things when I was in opposition that happened in other countries, not to meddle, but to say, oh, listen, this is best practice, this is principle, we should be guided by those. And I expect that, people might say similarly about me, I hope.
On more mundane issues, were you ever congratulated by the former PM?
No, I think he still doesn't talk to me.
How do you feel about it?
Well, listen, I've had I've gotten used to that over the years, that, it would be good if, as political leaders, because as I said in my speech when we were sworn in, people, I don't put myself there. I put myself out offering, but there's people who select me, they elected me. And it's similarly, anyone who fails to recognize that, especially persons who are in the political milieu as well, who's in that process, if you don't recognize that, then you're really not sending a good example to people.
Do you like him? He doesn't seem to like
you. Have to be able to be gracious and simply say, listen, people, they supported me for this length of time.
Have class.
Yeah, have a little, yes, statesmanship. And don't.
You are such a diplomat. I say class, you say statesmanship.
The point is this,
I'm gonna blame my mother, man. I wasn't brought up properly, man.
the people have to come first, and when they elect somebody, then we owe that respect, because when you don't respect that person, then you're essentially disrespecting those people who put you there.
Yeah.
And that is the difference. So you would always find that in the past, we did not form government. We had our differences with the electoral, but we always said, well, listen, we will
Respect the will
go and do our work. And we did that. I was just reading over one of my, the last time that Parliament opened, my remarks that I made then. Essentially, that was the point I was making. People choose me now to be the leader of the opposition. I will do my best job as a leader of the opposition.
Right.
They've chosen me now to be the Prime Minister of the country.
Likewise.
I will do my best job.
Likewise.
And I would expect that others, whatever
Were-
role.
Were you surprised that Dr. Gonzalez stayed on as opposition leader?
Not really. No.
After 25 years of being
Some people don't know what to quit.
No, but I mean, that's a legit point. Huh?
It's true.
I mean,
It's true. It's true.
There is a time to retire. There's a time to move on to something else.
Ecclesiastes, yes. It's the time for everything.
Yeah.
On the seasons, But the point is that is his personal.
And his comments about maybe not attending today's
first there.
swearing in.
Again, I will be there. I could only account for me doing my job.
But he used to murder the NDP when they didn't show up.
Yeah. Well, do so not like so. What's that?
Do so
I
not
like
like
so.
so.
I like so.
Yeah.
Whatever the phrase.
Do so not like
All right. What about in the important matters of things like vehicles, man? That seems to be on everybody's minds.
Mm-hmm.
What vehicles are you driving?
Wait, first and foremost, who came up with 141?
Not me.
You sure?
Positive.
We need to know who came up with 141.
I heard people say, "Boy, I'm glad to see that Dr. Friday has a petty streak."
Really? Well, that's what
You can't take credit for that.
you call it credit. That's not what I like to be known for. To have a petty streak. No. The point is that I think we got away from the original. The whole thing about license plates and so forth. It used to be the Governor General had none. It was G1, G2, and so forth. I don't know why they changed that.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the scale of things, it's as you quite rightly put it, it's a rather minor thing. But as to what was the other question you asked about?
Are you gonna keep those vehicles or are you changing them?
We're in the process of replacing, because there's one of the vehicles is I think about 9 years old. The other two are probably 5 or 6. Yeah.
Mm.
But they in the process of getting newer vehicle. Yeah.
Have
Well,
Wait,
not
wait,
for
wait,
Christmas.
those. I can get one.
Not for, no, they're not being thrown in the sea. They're going to be repurposed. Other functions within government. So the value is still there because they're still decent vehicles.
Have you moved into the official residence yet?
No, I have not.
Are you going to?
Eventually, yes, because it's the people's place, and that's where the prime minister is supposed to reside. But as it is now, it's not in condition to be used now. It needs quite a bit of work.
Really?
Yes, it does. And so that process of assessment, I've asked people at Bragset to go and have a look at it and see what we need to do.
Did that surprise you?
It did, yeah, because quite a lot of money was spent on it over the years. I think a lot of it is just simply it was an older building too, and there's a lot of mismatch things that are in there that simply need updating as we're doing at the same time. But it's
But if so much money was spent on it, how did it end up in that?
How did it deteriorate?
well, I mean, it's
So it's
a
not
good-
just the police complaining.
So it's a good question. There's also the grounds are in fabulous condition. I mean, it's a nice building, and it deserves to be, a place for the people should always be proud to look at and to visit and so forth. And my intention is to be
Official
there.
receptions there.
Official reception, but also if people come and they come to meet you, they could come in the living room and talk to, because it's their place. I'm only using it temporarily, and hopefully
to rest
we'll-
your head.
to rest my head and put the crown on the pillow, as Luke was saying. And next but it's again, it's respecting people, because taxpayers' money are going to be fixing it. So it should be a place where they can be proud of, where they feel that it's accessible, and we intend to make it that.
Is that?
No, I was going to ask him if this falls in line with the lack of upkeep of government buildings and properties across the country. This falls in line with that as well.
Well, there's a similarity there, but it's certainly it's more than just the upkeep. It's a lot of it. The stuff needs to be modernized, and it will take a little time, but we will do it piece by piece, so that certainly do it to a point where we can move into it, because
Speaking of modernization, what can we do about Kingstown? I know we spoke about that while you were in opposition, but is there an immediate plan for Kingstown and like traffic?
Yeah, we have spoken about the challenges of Kingstown in a kind of a way where we talk about reimagining Kingstown. You can't just simply say fix this, fix that. I think we had to start from. We had a really good meeting the other with some people from some of the staff from the planning department. They came and presented, a model of what they would like to see at Little Tokyo and the bus terminals and so forth. How then that is supposed to be part of a larger study that deals with traffic. Of course, traffic is a function of how many vehicles you have in the country, and how much people rely on private vehicles rather than public transportation. It also is a function of how nobody lives in Kingston anymore. If you lived in Kingston, you had to drive into town in the morning. So we need to create more living space in Kingston, just as a capital city. Right now, it's like a mine. You come in, you check in, and then you go in the afternoon. You go, and nobody cares what happens after hours because they don't live here.
Right.
I should tell people, because I'll be here on weekends and so on, stay at Cobblestone. And when I'm going down to Ketchy, it's me and the dogs on the road. That's it. And then Kingstown is our capital city. It has to also be, it's a port where the cruise ship terminal is. People come in and they visit. You gotta put your best foot forward,
Right.
Somebody coming to visit your home, the first thing you do, you're sweeping out and make sure the front look clean, right?
Because sometimes when the tourists especially come off the boat, it's not always a good look in Kingstown.
Whole walk from up.
Boy, that walk from coming up is.
Well, if there's one man knows that walk.
I know that walk. I mean, the fellas ain't let me do it now, but I've done it. I've seen the tourists skipping and hopping and dodging the fellas making a living and so forth, because it's a bustling city. People have to make their living.
Right.
But the cruise ships and the tourists that come, they are part of our living. So we have to make it more welcoming. So we had to talk about reimagining what Kingston could be, and it's, again, what I'm saying is not just widening a road to make traffic. It's not just putting up more parking spaces so that cars can get to park. It's thinking about how, take for example, Middle Street. I have come here on holidays, and it's the best time. I've taken some pictures. You look down Middle Street to take a picture. There's nobody there, and Middle Street looks, an opportunity. Yes, there's something that you could do more with it. Of course, during the busy hustle, everybody making $1 and they're doing their own thing, and then it gets a little chaotic. I kind of like it, to be honest, because it's energetic,
Right.
But we have to understand too that there are certain things that you can do to make things more orderly so that everybody use it better. People talk about vending as though it's like a blight. I mean, vending is part of our economy. Let's face it. A lot of people, that's how they make their living. So the question is, how do we integrate that formally as part of the economy and to make it so that people can make a living, but do it in a way that doesn't take away from the charm and the functionality of the city? And I think people understand that. So when I talk about reimagining Kingstown, I've had some opportunity to look at similar plans that they had put forward for Castries and St. Lucia. Because I've been thinking about this for, not just now, but since last 2-3 years in particular, as to how we can make this into a vibrant, attractive place. And for me, I think one of the key things is getting people to live in Kingston again. When people used to live on the top floor of the businesses in Kingston wasn't dirty. Me look at pictures from the 40s and 50s. because that's your home, that's your neighborhood.
We need a few more
Yeah.
penthouses.
If
and-
they don't work it, you call to the politician or you tell the person who messing it up to clean it up and so forth. People do that, but if you're not here, then you go to the suburbs and you don't really care what happens.
What's the biggest shock in the job? What were you not anticipating?
I think the level of time management it requires for me just to have lunch. You know, it's
It's
really
like an operation.
It's yes. I mean, quite literally, there are some days where you have to be cutting appointments because it's just you're trying to accommodate, but I haven't quite learned yet to say no. And so, people who want to see me, because
There seems to be like a lot of ceremony. Just
at the
watching
beginning,
social media.
at
and
the
that kind of thing.
beginning, yes. I mean, because it's a transition, you have to swear the ministers in. Like today, for example, we're going to Parliament so that the parliamentarians can be sworn in as, people understand this, as members of Parliament. The ministers have been sworn in as ministers. That's the process was done earlier on. But today we go to Parliament to swear the ministers in, the members, the elected members and the senators in as parliamentarians. So all these ceremonial things have to be done. And some of it, I'm seeing it for the first time from this side, where basically we are organizing it.
Right.
So it takes some doing and understanding as well. But so far, the staff, the people who are responsible for doing that, they've been extremely efficient and professional, and they've been, making sure that they organize. So today, I expect that we'll have a good ceremony in the Parliament. Basically, it's a matter of just the swearing in and a few remarks, and then we're done for the day.
Will you be remaining at that parliamentary building and not?
For the foreseeable future, I think,
Yeah.
because, I mean, I said this is not news. I said this when I was in opposition, that for me, given the financial situation in the country, I didn't think that the Parliament building, as desirable as it is, it wouldn't have been my number one priority, especially when the whole notion of that came up during the COVID crisis, remember?
Right.
And that's where I said the phrase, I say, put the money where the pain is, because people were suffering, and you're talking about building a parliament. I said, give me a comfortable chair and let's do the business where we were until we have a little bit more space to be able, fiscal space to be able to do those things. So yes, I see that we were there for a little while, and it's not a priority for me to build a new parliament building. I want to be able to deal with get the hospital completed, so that the people can have basic proper health care, and it's not just monuments and not buildings. We have to have the National Health Insurance Plan. I spoke with the CEO at the NIS last week, and that was one of the main subject matters that we discussed: is how do we get this done? It's a matter of whether we will get it done. I believe we have to do it, because the notion that somehow you can't afford a national health insurance scheme or a program is like saying, if somebody gets sick, well, you're on your own, you die, because whether you have that or not, people get sick.
Yeah.
So the question we're asking ourselves is, how do we manage that? What's the best way to do it? And for me, and it's not rocket science again, other countries where they have confronted this, they say it's better to do it as a broad base where the younger help the ones who are more vulnerable now, because at some point, it's not one of those things where you say, it might happen, it might not. At some point, you're going to need the healthcare system.
It has to happen.
It has to. So it's an investment that you get back. And the point is that all over the world, they've said, this is the way to do it, where we spread a little bit around, everybody contribute here and so forth, so that if somebody needs to have, a test done in a timely manner, they don't have to go and raise money, on the street or do something and then wait till it's too late before they could do it. You have those basic things done. Focus on preventive medicine so that we could keep the population healthier. We don't need to do these more expensive procedures later on. Those things have to be looked at in conjunction with building a new facility.
Right.
I see this I see this recurring conversation. I'm sure you've heard about it, where people are saying, why is your son everywhere where you go?
Mm-hmm. No, not really. People recognize that, he helps me in ways that, most people couldn't. Like last night, we were going through certain things and so forth. He's in my room. I won't have that as somebody. And in fact, he's the one who said to me, he said, listen, I can't be at your beck and call 24/7. You know,
My mom
you
would
know,
say, "Why
I
not?"
gotta have.
Have you ever been through childbirth?
I gotta have some space. So I say, yeah, you know, once you get me settled.
I think it's rooted. I trying to understand why people are so fascinated by it. I think it's rooted in this perception that the previous government was a family affair.
Well, here the thing is, Nicholas is not on the public payroll. You know, this is not. It's not a job for him where he's, you know, and he is doing this basically from my end. You know, if you need pocket change, I give him. You know, but
he right now is on minimum wage.
Well, I don't know about that. The point is that, you know, he recognized, and you know, you raise the subject matter, so I will respond in it, because if you say people are asking the question, I don't see why that is such a hard to understand. Here you have somebody you trust who is extremely capable, you know, very well organized, and
Like a personal assistant.
It's like an aide.
he is my personal assistant, you know, and is willing to do it because I'm not just the prime minister, I'm his father.
Right.
But he did make it very clear to me. He said, if I didn't believe what you were doing, I wouldn't be here either.
Right.
So whether father or not,
Right.
you know. So it's for me, it's a great benefit to have him. There are a lot of things that I don't have to worry about, and there's somebody who I can trust implicitly.
Do you mind this kind of public scrutiny? Because it's
do.
different as a PM.
I do, but you know, it's because I've been private, especially with my family, you know, because I am a public figure and I'm out there, say what you want about me and do what and so forth. But you know, my family, in a sense, they signed up for it when they say, "Well, fine, you can do it." But there's a certain amount of normalcy that you want. So I want, when I leave Kingston or the office or whatever, I go home to a normal place where I go and I bathe my dog, or you know, my wife send me to the groceries, that kind of things, which is normal life.
You can't do that now. She
you
can't
still
do that now.
You still getting sent out?
Well, she tried.
Nah, come on.
No, she did. She tried. I said, you know, come on. I said, I can't just go into the store anymore because, you know. She said, all right.
That's such a wife type of thing to do, huh?
Don't forget the bread.
Don't forget the brand.
Or the yogurt or something. I said,
Yeah.
I can't just stop off and go off, you know.
Just stop it in Massey or Graves or something. It's not like it used to be. You know?
Yeah.
So that is part of
That
the
would be fun to see though.
it's part of the new reality. But it is you know, it's
I hope you don't succumb to those requests. Like you're gonna put pressure on the rest of us.
Yeah,
Like,
no. Luke, don't do it, you know. You get sent out, he's sending somebody else for it. I'm telling you.
no, but I mean, I like
you're gonna put pressure on the rest of the, male
like-
population. You know?
I like doing it too, but you know, it's just not feasible. Like for Jagger, for example, I tell him the other day, I said I was supposed to come down because he knows I come there to do my Christmas shopping for, because I have a party on New Year's Day usually, and so we do our shopping for wine and beer, well, not beer, but spirits and so forth. And you know, I haven't been able to do that yet, and I may not be able to. I might have to send somebody out.
Well, as I told you, you can send me the message.
Send you the list.
Don't
Yeah.
worry, man.
But that
You're hungry for the sailor. Jeez.
But I used to get a big sailing through too. You know, so-
You used to come and push your cart.
Uh-huh,
You know, you'd ask me which new wines we have, etc., etc.
Yeah,
So,
because
yeah.
what I do is this started. It's not an invitation to you guys. Okay? So, no, this started years ago, and on New Year's Day we used to go out with my party group. You know, New Year's Day. You know, we go out at 9 o'clock in the morning. And
When you say your party, your
party
political party or
Yeah.
your FET party group?
no, my political party group,
Right,
the team I had with me there and back when they're still there. I mean, tremendously loyal and hardworking, and they're giving a lot. But what we do is we go out on New Year's Day and then hand out parcels and so forth, and stop with people, chat with them, get some black cake, and then they go home by me. And we had dinner and drinks and little music, and so, and that grew and grew and grew until now. You know,
What did you think of the punch you crammed this morning?
it's very nice. Yeah.
Big up to Mrs. De Freitas.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah.
You know, we have nice punch in our home. It's a little thicker than this, but it's
I tell you, man, you don't become PM without being competitive. Huh?
no, but thicker ain't necessarily better. But the point is that it's it tastes as good. You know,
I'm sure if I brought my black cake this morning, he would say the same thing. It's
No.
the best black cake I've
the
ever
black
eaten.
cake. The black cake is from my aunt. I have an aunt in Canada, you know, and when I was at university,
Hang on, let me see your front pocket.
eh?
Yeah.
No, she used to send me a black cake when I was in university every Christmas, you know, no matter where I was. And then I came down here, and lo and behold, the black cake still showing up.
Wow.
You know,
It's an expensive black cake at that point.
it's true, and it was the best,
Right.
excellent. So when you talk about black cake, that's what I would compare it to.
We've been having this argument that black cakes these days are so saturated with rum that we're almost immune to it. Whereas foreigners, when they try it, they're like, "Wow, that's
strong."
You know?
It's true, probably, but it all depends on the maker. Some people put more, some less. But
Do you cook?
me, yeah, I
What
cook.
would be your
Well,
dish?
that sound like Luke.
Eh?
What would be your dish? What would be your dish? What, like you,
Well, one of the
you're
things.
cooking to impress. What are you cooking?
No. I learned to. I'll tell you something. When I first went to Canada University, I couldn't boil water.
I don't want student food. You
You
know,
know?
I don't
No,
want a few
honestly.
red beans and a
But-
can of tomatoes.
Doc, don't come and tell me it's ramen.
No,
No, I could go dog well.
not. Some
Can't
people
be
like
ramen.
ramen. No.
How could it be ramen?
Huh?
Come on, how could it be ramen?
Why would
Come on, man.
you just come and tell
What
me cook
my
fried rice?
favorite thing to cook is pilau. I like cooking pilau and fish.
Mm.
You know, fish broth. Usually, I used to teach them on Saturday mornings. We have fish.
Should a pilau be wet or dry?
I like it dry. I like it loose.
Tell you so. I tell you so. You don't like to listen. That's your problem.
I tell you.
Remember, then
And
I
it
was
need
at
to- it
Trinity.
need to be like
she
a
used
day
to, she,
on-
used to, she used to make it, you know, with some pigeon peas, and hers was, it's a little different from what we do here. You know, it's not as brown, but it tasted so great.
Mhm.
And every time I went to visit, she would make it for me, but you know, she's passed now. But that was one of the first things that I learned to make. And one time I remember when I was grad student, no, I was in our school, I can't remember anyway, but some guys came over to my apartment, you know, and we're cooking, and so I said to this fellow, I said, well, you could have some. He said, nah, you know, I've had dinner already, son. And then he saw everybody eating, and he said, all right, let me just take a little bit. And he took a little bit, and he tasted it, and then he watched it, and he said, can I have my share? So he was hooked. And in those days, I think I made it better than I do now because I don't do it as often.
All right. We
But
have a-
fish, seafood, conch salad.
You could do conch salad.
Conch salad.
You're real
Really
grenadines,
good
man.
conch salad. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
cook the conch or
No,
do
you can't cook the conch in a conch salad. Luke.
Come on, Luke. You didn't know
Yeah,
that?
no,
No,
you
you
know that,
can,
Luke?
you can, but a lot of people would raw it and
Not really. What you do is you cut the white part off the
Yeah.
soft part, and then you dice it.
Right.
And what you want, you need some good lime. Though.
Some
This
lime
kind of
and
lime
pepper,
that they have
yeah.
with the yellow lime inside, terrible.
the green lime.
You need the green lime, yeah, the really sour stuff.
Duh, Luke.
And then you put some pepper sauce and leave it there for,
Overnight.
well, not even overnight, you know, a couple hours. It really is one of my favorite things. So.
Speaking of the grenadines, we have a couple of questions here about what the recovery is going to look like going forward under your government in Southern Grenadines. And how soon do you think people would be fully back to normal?
Well, we've started that process now because, you know, you've heard me say in the past that I think that the community, in Union Island recovers better when people get back there.
All right.
First of all the assistance money that is being spent would be spent in the community there, and that goes to support local businesses. It goes to bring the community back. You know, if you this large the population, we understand that from the very beginning when the devastation was so great and there was no electricity, people had to be moved. But the plan always should have been to get them back into the community as quickly as possible, because for all of those reasons, when you're close to your community and you see the things that are not right, then you start working to make
Much like
them
the
get
Kingstown
better.
theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you're kind of dislodged from your community. So my plan now is to try and get the remaining people.
How do you
Back.
rate the recovery effort that has occurred for the last 18 months?
It has been too slow. You know, the devastation in Union Island was complete. We know that. But it is a small community still. And so the
How many homes would there be in?
I'm not sure exactly how many homes, but the two large communities, Ashton, Clifton, and you know, smaller villages. But it's once you had the infrastructure back, you clear the roads and so forth, which you did within the first couple of months, and then you have the electricity. Was the poles were damaged, but the facility itself, the generation plant, wasn't destroyed. And once you had those back up, then really you could start to get the communities back together. And they focused and they said, oh, they focus on domestic, getting people back in their homes, which is fine. But to the exclusion of the businesses, they didn't provide very little, if any, assistance to businesses.
Right.
And you have to do both. I don't see why you had to do one or the other.
Yeah.
And so that people come back and they had jobs. Instead, they're here, and then the government gave them some assistance. They stay in rental premises where nowadays people are saying they want them out. And then there are no jobs, and government stopped providing food assistance and all, paying the rent sometimes. And people were left in kind of limbo. So now we're dealing with that situation. We want to get the people back to their communities, find ways. If they don't have residences to go to, they don't have them on the mainland either, but they're here, they're in rental premises. So there'll be more places that they
What
can
could
go
be,
back.
what could be done, like in terms of insurance? So there is some
You mean private insurance?
No, for
private,
like,
or maybe even some sort of government insurance where
when natural
which-
disasters.
yeah, which
Yes.
would aid.
Well, there is such a facility that the
Jamaica
countries and
uses
regions
it.
have used.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's something we.
I think Grenada as well had a
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
We definitely have to, especially now that everybody's saying, in global warming, we're going to have more and more of these terrible things. So
people said Karaku's recovery was a lot quicker. Now I don't know whether
That's
the
what I
damage
heard.
was similar,
Mm.
but they said the recovery was a lot quicker than.
yes. So I heard, and the thing is that there's a lot of private entities, developers, individuals who were part of the process, and I think to a certain extent, government sort of sat back and see how much they would do, rather than accelerating the process. Because, for example, in Union Island, there was this gentleman who was doing some
Well, they
work.
said vote
And they
ULP.
And they said, he said they were down in Ashton, they would do that, and then the government is doing Clifton. But, Ashton went ahead and Clifton stayed behind. Why? Because government didn't respond as quickly as it should.
Have you spoken to Way since the election?
Not before, not after.
Do you plan to?
He's a major developer in the region. He's done tremendous work here. I don't see why not. I don't hold grudges.
Do you know what he wants?
Not really, because I have never spoken with him. I don't know what his
You said you don't hold grudges, so even his public support of the ULP doesn't mean anything to you.
I think it was poor political judgment because they lost. but I have to work with people whether they supported me or not.
Right.
I have to try and get, as I say, I always come back to it. It's not about me, man. It's about trying to get what we can.
You just mentioned, right,
People.
that a lot of people are still in rental homes, like
Yeah.
in mainland,
From
etc.,
Beryl.
from Beryl. Before, when you were in opposition, I can't remember if it was you, if it was the Honorable Laverne King. No.
You said that with such
I know,
emphasis,
because I
yeah.
have to make sure.
Yeah.
Listen, Laverne worked hard, She worked hard.
She did, yeah.
That there was a lot of
She
wastage.
was a key component of the
Key.
campaign.
Very, very key.
Yeah.
She's a doer. She gets things done.
I think she mentioned that there was a lot of wastage happening in government as well, that your government intended to cut.
Mhm.
Have you identified a lot of that wastage?
We're going through that process now. There are individual things we could see from when we were outside, and I use this as an example during the campaign when we said that we would pay, the baby bonus, as they call it.
Right.
And people say, we ain't getting money from. Well, what it costs to do the baby bonus for 1 year is what they spent on the Emancipation Cricket Tournament. Not Emancipation, the one before, is Emancipation? The
Yeah,
one that they were,
Emancipation.
bringing all them people and said that they are to show that they could run cricket better and shallow. But the point was that if you put those money where they're supposed to go,
Right.
then people benefit and it doesn't cost anything more. So a lot of those things are going to be happening where we are repurposing things and making them make sense. You don't just do things because they look good for you. They have to feel good for people. And that's where we're focusing.
Is there pressure on you to quote unquote victimize? I don't think that's really what people mean, but there is a. I hear some people say you're being too slow in getting rid of
What people perceive to be ULP diehards.
people who are anti your agenda.
This is always a challenge for a new government coming, especially when you're coming after, government's been entrenched for so long. But government has to function. And a lot of the persons who are in the public service, they are there to perform a function irrespective of government. And that's the whole way in which the public service is structured. And, for those persons who are in positions, you heard me say at the beginning, do your job. And I said it in the campaign. I know people don't believe me. I said, in a sense, I don't really care how you got your job. You might have got because you were close to this person.
Now
and so
you're there.
forth.
Do your
Now,
job.
do your job, and once you're delivering for people, you're performing and so forth, then you have nothing to worry about.
But some of your supporters don't like that, sir.
Well, maybe so, but I think most people, when they think about it, you're saying people vote for change. When they vote for change, they don't vote just for the change in faces. You have to change the way in which you do, how you do things as government.
Right.
Our country will not go forward if we have this, is their turn, our turn kind of thing, because then, the country is just like a tool rather than this vessel which we are all essentially traveling in. And we are seeking to broaden the inclusivity in all the things that government does so that people benefit, not based on your political orientation. Naturally, there are certain positions that you will want to have persons who subscribe to the policy of the government, who will push the policy of the government, who will find ways to make it work, rather than simply trying to find, or just, going through the motions. That's normal. That's part of, it's required, to be honest, if we want to deliver to the people. But, this wholesale talk about, I don't know if that's the case, that you have to get rid of and get rid of them to go where? We are all part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
You can understand though, right? If I've been
In the doldrums.
if I've been in the doldrums, if I've been victimized,
I understand that.
I don't care what anybody tells me. The previous government victimized their share of people, and if you were one of those people that were getting victimized, and you see maybe the people that were either benefited from your victimization or who were part of your victimization, you could kind of understand.
I could understand it. It's human. But the point is that those persons would not be functioning. They wouldn't be doing the job anyway.
Right.
So those are persons.
So they're going to lose their job not because they are.
If
ULP
anybody
or anything
were
like
to
that.
do so, is because
They're not
you
doing
give
their
them
job.
opportunity. You're not doing a job. It's a management issue.
Right.
And I have an obligation on behalf of the people as well to make sure that we get, the best out of people. And so we're going to give people the opportunity to function, as I said earlier. The managers at the various levels will be accountable for ensuring that people under them function. And by function, I mean you're doing your job. It doesn't matter what your own political belief is or your religious belief and so forth. This is your job. Do your job. And that is what I think people require. For persons who have been victimized in the past and so forth, I understand that they're feeling, and those persons will know what it feels like. And they, in a human moment, you will say, oh, listen, they do it to me, let me do it to them. But when you think about it, say, boy, what I go through, I don't want anybody to go through that. Because the opportunity we want to do is to create more opportunities so that those people feel now that they are out from under that pressure, that they have a chance now to make a decent living in this country. And those opportunities will be made available so that everybody has a stake in St. Vincent and Grenadines. That's the only way we could go forward.
One more. I think I'm a little biased to this one as well. Somebody wants to know, what are we doing about public transport? Because right now it's crap.
Yeah. Well, you said it.
Well,
Yeah.
so you agree?
Well, the public transport system in the country, is kind of it's antiquated. It's a
Archaic.
private system. Listen, sometimes it looks chaotic. I know from in Trinidad, for example, I used to live in St. James, and to go from there up to St. Augustine, you had to change.
You also had a penthouse?
Hmm?
Sorry.
Jagga, I thought that was Luke's line, But the point is, it looks chaotic.
He getting dirty, huh?
But
He started with us real clean, and now look at him.
It's Chris' fault.
Chris,
This is the chair.
the point is that those
See him over there. You're applying to be security.
those things sometimes they don't they look chaotic, but they function. But what we're seeing now is happening here is, it happens all over. They're not available when they should be. People can't get home from work at if they're working in hospital and so forth. There's no real public transport system, and so that has to be.
It's also
How
it's also a
difficult can that
nuisance.
be to impose it?
It's a nuisance though, because you're talking about people having to subject themselves to extremely loud music,
Yep.
to overcrowding,
Yep.
too. These things are
And
not
speeding,
They
yeah.
shouldn't be normal, but we've normalized it.
How old are you? 75?
Yeah,
But these things all have to be they all have to
you
be
don't catch banner.
yeah.
Just put
Well,
it out there.
That I gather, but it has to be done in conjunction with the operators now. You know, you can't just come and impose something because it ain't gonna work.
Right.
People push back and so forth. You need to have buy-in where people say, "Listen, we're trying to make it better for everybody." If your customers are happy, you're getting more customers. You know, people.
But I mean, there has to be some imposition of structure.
Yeah, well, that will come, as I say, from having that interaction, that dialogue. You can't just come out and figure, well, listen,
You have to
I
change
am
the
the
culture.
new guys in town, and this is what we think things should be. And we had this conversation and with my circle as well, with colleagues. And the question I ask is, so, well, okay, the vans are very loud and noisy, and the school children are having a difficult time. I'm saying, so you ask yourself the question, why do the van drivers do it then?
The hustle.
Why do they make so much noise in the vans if it's such a terrible thing?
It attracts their largest clientele.
There you go. So it's a business.
Genie, on the money as always.
No,
man.
it's a business decision for them. So the
Yeah.
point is, how do we change the incentive structure so that everybody, not just the largest core clientele, can.
but also
use the
offering a
public system.
service beyond the peak hours.
That's right, and all of those things. You know, there are ways in which they can also self-regulate and say, listen, in this route you have 1 or 2 vans will run late this week, and the next week will be somebody else, and so forth, so that you're not all sort of competing for the reduced customers, and that you could break even at least, but you're providing a public service. I see it also in Beckway, the service to Paget Farm back and forth. Sometimes the boat come, and then as the last van for the day,
Yeah.
and people now they can't get a van to go home. There's one guy who smart enough to say, well, you know what, I will do the after hours stuff, and he will run service. But it's quite entirely up to their own personal discretion, when in fact there should be a public service you could rely on.
Speaking of Beckway, do you have any projects in mind? I will say that Beckway is such a gem in the making, and there's so much potential there that we could be capitalizing on.
It's more than a gem in the making. It's a gem already.
Oh, sorry.
The point is, we want to polish it some more.
It needs a bit of a cleanup, though.
That's right. We need to polish it some more. And
Especially that road running.
gosh, yes. No,
Even the harbor area.
the harbor is. I mean, the whole thing looks very.
It used to be really
Very
attractive.
rundown, yes. It looks very rundown, and that is it's a fault of the government. Let's face it. In that community, for example, you don't know who is in charge. There's no real structure. You have NGOs that are playing a part. You have Bragsa doing some of the work. You have, at one time, the office of the Grenadian Directorate. You have the Beckway Tourism Association. You have various organizations doing things.
Too many chefs.
That they saw that they're filling the breach, because there's no real structure.
I also get the feeling that the product that Beckway is offering has to be a bit more defined. What exactly are you?
Well, when I was growing up, we were defined by basically the seafaring, because you didn't have many hotels.
Hang
And
on,
so
when
on.
you say you grew up, I thought you grew up in Canada.
I grew up in Beckway. I went to primary school in Beckway.
You and Fitz are in school in
I went
Canada,
to high
man,
school in
since
Beckway.
this high.
I was the captain of a cricket team and the football
Nah,
team. All of them.
nah,
You don't want to hear all of them.
Me ain't buying none of that.
Captain in football team.
You can't even swing a racket. He's
Me ain't buying none of that, man.
very true.
He
Yeah.
played ice hockey.
Some Maple Leafs fan.
Yeah.
I tell you the truth. I went one time. I ever tried to skate was on the Reeder Canal. The worst place you could do. It's the biggest skating rink in the world. And my friends, of course, they enjoying themselves because they got whiz, and they left me there
You lost.
at night, trying to stay on my feet and just shuffling on the. I said that's the first and the last time I going to do any of that thing. So I stick to cricket and football. But the point is that when I was younger, there's a lot of things. Was from the see the yachts coming and they're doing the business and so forth. We have hotels now and people are coming. The airport came, all of that. But it's not really. You're quite right. We haven't quite in the last number of years. When Sir James was there, he ran a hotel. He knew what was needed to bring the tourism dollar, which is what we are, and he worked for it. But presently, it's kind of it's all over the place.
Yeah.
The ferry service is tremendous. We have more service, better service than ever. But if you look at the docking facilities, we have outgrown them. There's just they need more space.
Right.
Under the almond tree, because we have so many more taxis now, they've been there, they park, it's convenient, but it becomes very, very crowded. We have the roads from the harbor down to Padgett Farm. It's an obstacle course.
Could you imagine a resort like Sandals in Beckwith?
Sandals might be a little big, for
Or Sandals in, say, Canada?
Yeah, a smaller. We have the resort there is the magnitude of investment like Sandals, but it's a smaller in terms of the number of persons. But that is something that when you're talking about projects, you have to have them suit the scale for the area that you're in. In Beckwith, it's more kind of boutique hotel, and that's been working over the years. We have, Beckwith Beach Hotel, for example, not to name, things. We had Liming. We have various really nice quality places, down and and you have mid-range places that, like Kingsvale along in Lower Bay and Reef and all of those places provide service. And then, of course, there's a lot of persons who rent cottages, So it's a very diverse product. And then we have the yachties who are still coming, and lots of them in the harbor there now.
Do there need to be more yachting facilities?
Yes, we need to have marinas in the country more. It brings business, and it keeps yachts here longer, and they do more to service them, because it's not just a question of people come and drop an anchor, enjoying a snorkeling and go to a beach and come off and go to a restaurant. You want them to fix things, which is what they used to do. You say, you go back to buy parts. Right. So we have to introduce some sort of duty-free attraction.
Get the sales fixed.
Get this, all of those things, and we have some really skilled people who could do it.
Yeah.
Doing their laundry, providing ice and bread and all of these things. These are services that create an economy around the yachting industry, and that has declined. Even when we have now, the numbers of yachts have come back, but in terms of the variety of services offered, the number of people offering it, that is kind of a lot of the people they go to Grenada and Martinique, whatever, and buy their things.
How much more time does yourself and the Honorable Fitz Bramble have until the petition kicks you out?
Until it kicks us out. We're going to be there for as long as the people want us to be there.
Oh, okay. Just asking.
And so those persons who feel that they have some grouse, and they can't take their licks, the point of the matter is this, they talked about this all through the campaign, and they carried on about it, and the people still give us the biggest mandate ever. The people decided they want me to be Prime Minister. They want Fitz Bramble. Well, first of all, the people in Northern Grenadines, they want me to be the representative. They want Fitz Bramble in East Kingston, bigger margin than ever.
You got the largest ever share of the vote.
Hmm? Who, me?
No,
the NDP.
NDP.
Oh yeah, this is historic.
It's like what, 57%?
Well, I'm looking for the official things, but it's probably higher than ever. But the point is that we have even my constituency where you had like probably 86% of the people voted for me. That's a mandate that you can't ignore. People say that this is what we want, so we are going to do everything in our power to make sure that we are there to deliver for the people of this country, and I have no doubt that we will do so. We will defend the petitions.
I know you said that the former Prime Minister didn't congratulate you. Did any of the other former MPs
yes,
did?
Throughout the region. Yeah.
No. The other former MPs.
The ULP candidates.
No, I haven't heard from
none.
anyone. Not a single one.
Come on, ULP, if you're listening, man, that's poor form, man.
Sour grapes, man. Sounds
Poor
bad.
form. That's poor form.
But each of the other prime ministers in the region.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the common practice. Some call, some send messages, but it's always nice to hear from them when they recognize you as, the new kid in the block, so to speak. But also I have to work with them.
Have any of them kind of called you and said, if you need any advice on anything?
Yes, one or
I'm
two.
available.
There's some who are very experienced in the region. It's always good when you can rely on people with experience. They know what this business has been. Some have been in office for quite some time. And they are, I believe they'll be generous with their time and offering assistance. But the point of the matter is, ultimately, my priority is really setting the ship right here in country first. And that requires us to get the economy, the financial situation of government under control so that we can meet our obligations and plan for the future, not just essentially, barely making ends meet kind of thing where you can't really plan for the future. That is something that we have to do within the first year in office, so that we could set our agenda now before the people and start meeting it. And that is that's what we're working on. Regionally, there are a lot of things that we will have to do. As the incoming, I inherited the chair of OECS, but these are things that I will consult with colleagues who've been there before and do my duty regionally as I will do here. It's an exciting time. It's also a very steep learning curve, but I feel that people have enough goodwill that they will come forward and provide assistance where they can, but also give us the time to start getting things in order, because Rome wasn't built in a day, and the challenges that we have to meet are real, and we are going to do our very best to do so as quickly as possible, because, as I said, I'm not here about making excuses. I want to deliver what we promise to people, and that's a growing economy, more jobs, better jobs, and getting our infrastructure back in order, and bringing some calm and security to the people as well, bringing this terrible scourge of violent crimes under control, rebuilding agriculture, rebuilding our tourism economy. Well, not rebuilding, but accelerating it. This notion of one major hotel in 25 years, that is not the pace of development we need. We need to go faster than that. We also have to introduce the new sets of programs and policies like CBI, getting our blue economy working, getting Otley Hall fixed up. A lot of people, I'm very happy to see that quite a few people have expressed interest in getting the Otley Hall Marina up and running, because that can create a lot of jobs, and it also helps our boating, our fleet, so that they don't have to go to Trinidad and to Grenada just to clean the bottom of the boats. It's really a lot of expense on their part.
Yeah.
So those are things that we're going to focus on in the first year of government to get that. I promise people that we will do that within the first term, but my ambition is a bit faster than that. I want to do some of that within the first year in government. Start turning things around.
All right, well,
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well,
we know your time is valuable.
Well, thank you so much for having me here, and I am looking forward to subsequent
well, we hope so. We don't want you to just throw us away.
invitations.
You're always invited.
Tell the people.
Always.
So what are you going to do for Christmas?
What are for Christmas?
Yeah.
Luke's supposed to bake a ham. He's supposed to do a cake.
All right.
Jeannie's supposed to make the peas.
So while you're doing it here,
Yeah, and I come in to eat.
you're doing it in office. All right. Well
I
done.
was meant
Enjoy.
to provide the liquor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I
1, 2, 3.
I want to wish everyone a wonderful Christmas season, and to remember that what we celebrate, and at the same time that look forward to the new year. Of course, we heard some sad news today. Asbert passed away,
Yeah.
and he was
Very simple.
very well known in the journalism business in this country, but he's somebody that I knew for quite a long time. So I want to give my condolences to his family. And in the midst of joy, there is sorrow. We know that.
Of course.
All right.
All right. Thank you for that.
That was the Honorable Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines, Dr. Godwin Fry.
Thank you so much.
Amidst the shells, the sounds, the excitement of the season. Find joy. Give joy this Christmas. Only with Hot 97.1. 7.1.